Welcome back, Crew Cats. It's another episode of the Crew Corner podcast. What are we up to now? Is this number 4?
I think this
is number 4. Episode 4 of the Crew Corner podcast. My name is Matt.
And I'm AJ.
There's no random rebranding announcement. There's no major trades happening. We're just kind of sitting in wait, just waiting for games to start.
Loki is very calm.
Yeah, assistant producer Loki is kicking it with us today. It is a fun time. So, I posted a video up for the news review back on Monday. Well, I did it on Monday. Video went out Tuesday. And it touched on the Will Trapp farewell full-page ad in the Columbus Dispatch to say goodbye. And it was nice reading it. I appreciated it. But we all pretty much knew all of the things in that ad and that statement already.
That was actually his when he announced that he was leaving. The thing he posted for the Dispatch. If I think it's word for word, it might be slightly changed, but it's word for word the Instagram post he put up on his locked Instagram account. That it's locked. That the only people that can respond to it and do anything and interact with it is people that he follows already. So, the only people that were responding to it were like Justin Miram and Ethan Finley and those kind of people. So it was kind of nice to see it public, but I watched your video on it, and I kind of agree that his goodbye has been the long good night, to steal a phrase on, unfortunately, chronic illness. It is a little bit of the long good night. We've been watching him go away for the last 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, like even if you just count it from when the actual trade got announced.
Right.
The trade got announced on July 31st and
January 31st.
Sorry, I do that all the time. January 31st. And it was a full 9 or 10 days later. I have to do math. Yeah, it was 10 days because it was 31st. So yeah, basically 10 days later, they're still saying goodbye. 5 days later, Caleb Porter is explaining to the press how that it was it came to a mutual decision.
And Caleb actually said that this is the first time he's ever let a player address the other players when they get traded, which is, it's kind of an interesting thing that there was like a team-wide meeting. And I understand the reason for it. It's Will was a part of this team for, since he was a kid. So for some of these for very few of these players, and we'll get into this in a little bit, very few of the players and staff have been with him for a long time. I think if you had done this, if you'd announced the trade and Will had addressed the team in the locker room or at training, say in September or October, when people was still around and some of the other players and coaches that have been around for a while, it was different. The thing that people have had a problem with, and I know you had a particular problem with this, was how much and how weird the trade was.
The entire I look at the whole scenario, and it's like normal. This is the longest goodbye I have ever seen for a player who wasn't retiring. And, most of the time, it's, the trade gets announced, the team thanks the player for his service, the player says, it's been an honor and a privilege being here, which we all would assume to be true for someone like Will. And then, 1-2 days later, they're having their introductory press conference with their new team.
And he didn't have a press conference for Miami. He hasn't really addressed the press there because I think there's a little bit in Miami of a question of what the hell they're doing, and that gets into like a whole different thing of everybody thought, because the rumors for so long for Miami were like, oh, it's going to be Luis Suarez and Lionel Messi and, all these things. Like, that
Beckham money was going to buy all of those.
Yeah, that Beckham money was going to bring all of this stuff in. But if you look at it, who have they brought in? Like, they brought in Will Trapp on $600,000. They've got Luis Argudo, who, my wife is going to miss because he wore number 2 and he seemed like a hardworking player. Some people didn't like him in the beginning of the season. I think he really stepped up in an interesting way, and that's why he got taken by Miami. But, they're going to have to pay him $100,000. Like, nobody on that team is gigantic. There is no big, crazy thing. I think they have a DP that's going to be paid like $1.5 million, but there is no Luis Suarez. They don't have a $300 million stadium. They built a $75 million temporary stadium in Fort Lauderdale. They're not playing in Miami. They don't have an agreement on a training center. They don't have an agreement on anything. They don't have a jersey sponsor. They don't have... So Miami is at this point like... It's sort of Will Trapp fits into the Miami model. He is going to be one of the highest paid players on their team, and it's the thing that they've spent the most money on. But they didn't spend any money to us. They gave us $100,000 and an international roster slot, which that seems like nothing when during the 2018 season he was connected with a couple of different European teams, two championship teams, and there was a rumor of like a $2 million transfer for him. The problem is, and I'm going to be accused of hating Will.
Oh, that's already happened to me several times now. I hate Will Trapp, and I'm just someone who can't stop talking about him. Which, I mean, if you go back through the history of the Crew Corner news reviews, I think he's on the headline for like the last 3 of them because that's how long this story has been going on. It also doesn't help that we're in training camp. It's the off season. Games that matter haven't started, and quite frankly, there's just not a whole lot.
Yeah, there's nothing to talk. The most interesting thing, and it's the thing you and I talked about. I think the first one and the last one of who's playing defensive midfield? What's going to go on? We have 5 defensive midfielders. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Oh, we're going to give Will Trapp away. The thing is,
emphasis on the give part, because really for me, like the biggest sticking point
is he was our homegrown captain.
He was our guy. He was. It doesn't.
That's why the goodbye has been so long.
It also doesn't look good for the academy when your last 2 academy products one has essentially walked, and the other one is there a better academy product that this academy has produced than Will Trapp? No. So you've let your greatest academy product.
I was trying to think of our other academy products.
Yeah, off the hook for $100,000 in Garber bucks, and when you start talking about the benefits of the trade, the international spot, the offloading of the salary. Well, now
that is a tremendous offload of salary.
You're now talking about addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
And whenever you're starting to sell on addition by subtraction, that tends to mean that between the 2 camps, we'll say the Porter camp, it might be the whole front office, I don't know.
I think, yeah.
Between the 2 camps, that means there is a level of disagreement there, that one of those camps wanted to split up a lot more than the other one did. We'll put it that way. And I don't think it was Will. I think Will would have been absolutely fine staying in black and gold for his entire career if he was paid properly.
I don't think it's a paid thing. I think it's a style thing. I think Will is a different player. And I had the luxury of seeing Will when he was a kid. Not a kid, when he was playing for Akron. He played a game down at OU during their championship season. And I don't know where they played it, but they played against OU. And I saw it on the public access in Athens when I was down at Ohio University. And Will and Caleb were in a different system than they are playing now. Caleb has adapted his system to fit the players available to him. You have an incredible, long-running, fast, stretch the ball, stretch the field winger in Luis Diaz. You need an 8 that can stretch the field. You need somebody that can pass it up the center. When at the beginning of the season last year, there were moments where you would see Will all the way on the left corner trying to dig a ball out against a defenseman. That was never Will's style, and that wasn't Will's style with Greg. What it looks like Miami is trying to do is essentially they're going to play like Greg played in 2017, in 2015, in all of those times that Will was at his top, when Will was getting call-ups to captain the national team. So this is an opportunity for us to watch Will grow into a player that he would not have gotten to be in Columbus under this system. I think you are correct that he would have stayed in black and gold if Greg was still here. If we were still playing in that system that it was, Will kicks the ball out to Justin, Justin crosses it to Kai. That system, it was a plug and play. Will plugs in where Ethan Finley or Tony Tchani were. That is the system that Greg was playing, and then Artur kicks somebody in the knee. That's the system that Greg was running. You have Pipa to do that. So with this turnover, we are running a different system. We are running a system that is not based on anything that Greg was doing.
No, and I mean, and you can just take a look at the roster overhaul,
right,
from just last year to now. I mean, how many players from the Greg Berhalter era are still on this roster?
I think it's 5.
5. I think
Which means there are almost as many former PSV Eindhoven players than former Greg Berhalter Columbus Crew players.
Yeah, I mean, let's go through. I mean, Awful,
Jonathan Mensah, Milton Valenzuela, which admittedly he wasn't really a Greg player. Greg managed to bring him in, and he did have an incredible season. I think it was Matt Doyle that said that if Milton Valenzuela had played a single minute in the last game of the season, he would still be in the top 20 under 20 players in MLS. Milton Valenzuela is an incredible player. If he can have if he can have the type of season he had in 2018, it doesn't matter how much money we didn't get for Will Trapp, because we'll get that money from Milton Valenzuela.
Absolutely. So we got Milton, Awful, Mensah,
Artur, which that was quite literally Greg flew to Brazil to get that player. And then Jossie Zardes, who sort of fell into our lap when Greg was a player coach for the Galaxy, was when Jossie was coming up. So Greg saw Jossie in those early days. So when Ola Kamara said, "Yo, I'm trying to make a career here. I don't have time to deal with this nonsense that this ownership group is doing to us. I don't have time for Andy. I don't have time to not be on TV. I'm trying to get paid." He went to the Galaxy and he got paid. And then he went to China for half a season, and he got out of China before the coronavirus hit and got really lucky. He went to DC. They're paying him enough. Oh my God, they're paying him a lot of money. They are paying him. They found that money that they were paying Wayne Rooney in the couch, and they were like, "Oh, Ola, do you want this money now?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'll take that."
Is Fernando Adi going to be our game one striker?
No.
You don't think so? You think
I don't think so.
Giassi walks right back in?
When you're paying a player $2 million and you are on the hook for him, for that $2 million, you play him, at least for the first game. I think that
it's more a question of readiness than quality, just because he hasn't been with the team. Has he rejoined the team yet?
Yeah, he rejoined the team this week.
This week, so he'll have about 2 weeks with the team before matches start.
I think he actually was. I think they were training in Columbus this week, and then they might be in Mexico next week, or
they're in Arizona right now.
Okay,
they're in Tucson now.
Oh yeah, because they have the Phoenix Rising tournament thing.
Yeah, which is not with Adam Jean's Phoenix Rising, because Adam Jean is with Atlanta now. Realistically, this roster has been completely gutted by Porter and Bezpachenko. And gutted tends to bring some negative connotations in, but I think from an overall standpoint, the players that have been shipped out are of a lower caliber than the players that have been brought in. So it's been overhauled, but I think it's been overhauled for the better.
Yeah, I think the overhaul really is if you took our second team, like our U.S. Open team, if you just put all of the players that could qualify to play U.S. Open on the field, that's better than some. That team would easily beat the 2016 team. It would beat a lot of other teams. It is a high level team. Our reserve players are better than our new reserve players are much better than our old reserve players.
Yeah, and some
much as I love some of them, I love Luis Argudo and what he was doing the last couple of months he played for us. He did great things. I think Hector Jimenez stepped up in a way that I'm really glad the new CBA has fixed his pay thing. He will be paid a lot better than he was.
Yeah, that's another big story. We got 5 more years of labor peace.
Yeah, and luckily they put stuff to fix some of the worst problems.
Yeah,
of like
this is a very, very player friendly CBA. I think the players union, the players union now, is because they're making money, they're getting fans, maybe not necessarily here yet, but overall the league's making money now.
And depending on the team, here's the thing: I think it helped it helped preserve some of the status quo. It does not allow, and Arthur Blank gave a statement regarding that of like people ask how the hell do you. I'm trying to remember it, and I'm going to paraphrase most of it, but it's essentially like other owners ask him how the hell does he have the type of returns that he's had and the type of fan engagement, and how is he making buckets of money? And he essentially said, like, don't let the owners lie to you. We're all making money. Some people are making more money than others, and some people are better at making money, but how do you make money? You have to spend money. You have to go, hey, you know what? We're going to go get the best striker in South America, and we're going to pay a pile of money. And yeah, we're probably going to overpay for him. But you know what?
Martinez.
No, not even P.T. Martinez.
They're not all going to work out. They're not all going to work out to that level. And P.T., who knows? Maybe he'll bounce back this season. But
then you have to spend all of the money. It's the old movie thing is like, okay, so Justice League cost $1.5 million to make, or $150 million to make, and then they spent $300 million to market it. That's how you're gonna have. Some of these teams are going to have to do it, and you're seeing some of that with the Crew. Where they're doing marketing a little bit better, and shockingly, I'm gonna say that the Will Trapp thing was free advertising.
That's true too. They're doing marketing because you actually have a front office that wants to keep the team here, and they've got a stadium coming in, and they don't want to look like a-holes in this brand new stadium with 40 people in it. They don't want that. What they also don't want is no name on the front of their jerseys, at least from a business standpoint.
They don't really make a lot of money on it.
They don't.
And I know that some people are like, oh my God, you could be making $4 million a year off of a jersey sponsor. Yeah, you could make $4 million a year off a jersey sponsor. And currently I'm wearing the Acro jersey, and we were, my wife and I were wandering around looking at furniture for the house we're buying, and I kept my jacket closed because I kind of look like an asshole walking around with an Acura logo on my chest. And that's it. It makes you a little uncomfortable. Personally, I see this as an opportunity. We have an awesome looking jersey that's really kind of cool. It looks like silver confetti on your chest. Cool. Wear it, walk around, rock it. Here's another opportunity. How many charities are headquartered in Columbus? You work across the street from the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. Yeah, it's not the national thing, but why not choose once a month, why doesn't the team choose, for some of their home games or whatever away games they're going to wear that gray jersey or the yellow jersey? Why not put a charity on it? Why not put, the Crew Foundation logo on it, or the for the Peloton or the Pelotonia charity race? Why, that weekend we put it on there, or end childhood cancer or whatever charity. You could take the time. If you're not making money off these jerseys, why not just use them as billboards for a couple of years?
That's essentially what a jersey sponsor is.
But do it for free. Do like, hey, Make-A-Wish, in the month of April, the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Or, I know this is an incredibly political organization, and I have so many problems with them, but at the same time, they are local and they do some good work. But you could put the Dave Thomas Foundation on that jersey for one game, or the Make-A-Wish for one game.
Well, I mean, Wendy's is, near as I can tell, Wendy's is already the official hamburger sponsor.
They actually took that away during
They got rid of it?
Yeah, during the Save the Crew thing, they made a public statement about, Wendy's is all about hometown and stop disrespecting the hometown of our great founder and overlord, Dave Thomas.
Well, come on back, man. We got a new front office. We're under new management.
Here's
come on
the
back,
thing, though.
Wendy's. Come on back.
Here's the thing. There are continued rumors, and you see this from some of the people that are working for the Crew that are in these new positions to do this. 2020 will be let's get all of these things lined up for 2021. And in 2021, they are kicking out the jams. There are so many corporate deals that are apparently being done. There's going to be a jersey sponsor. There's going to be a stadium sponsor. There's going to be official everything. There's going to be an official local pizza. There's going to be an official hamburger. There's going to be a local mustard place, a local beverage, local beer. There's the ridiculous beer hall is going to be filled with nothing but local businesses. I have talked to people who I will not name because I enjoy having this type of relationship with them, where I don't have to admit who they are.
Where we don't throw them under the bus.
Where we don't throw them under the bus. That are essentially saying that 2021 is going to be the biggest Columbus festival to everything that is the Columbus way you could possibly have. If you can't find the Columbus spirit or whatever the love of the city and your local love, then you're not trying. 2020, however, is going to be, let's get this figured out. We have these players, we have fans, we have to build this fandom. 2021 is all about business. Let's make the money in 2021.
And that is actually why I think not having a jersey sponsor is a good idea.
Yeah,
I think
fine.
we're both on the same page in the sense that, without a sponsor on it, I can wear this shirt out. Right. I can wear this shirt out in a casual setting, and I think that is the biggest thing that that the crew fan base, spearheaded by the Nordecke, that
there are plenty of by the organization now of the Nordecke.
But with them as the spearhead, is that we the fans okay, hey, we saved our team, we got our team back, our vision is this close to being real, to really coming to life. And now we really need to step up our part of the game, because the one thing I know with Crew fans is that we're active on social media, we're active on Facebook, we're active,
a pain in the ass.
We're active on
Twitter.
Media. Oh, we are an absolute pain in the backside on Twitter.
The only fandom that is, in terms of MLS Twitter fandom, that's more of a pain sometimes is New York Red Bulls. And that's because New York Red Bulls has a built-in across the street, across the river, and now borrowing their stadium rival, where they can mock the ever-living hell out of each other. They also have the ability to target a group, a subsection of fans, and go, see, these guys allow Nazis into their stadium. We are better than them. So they get to have a moral high ground to stand on. We, in Columbus, however, get to have the moral high ground of, I screw those guys down in Austin. Oh, look, down in Cincinnati, they can't find their ass for a hole in the ground. So, if at some point the rest of the Ohio region, we have to continue to build towards something, because if at any point we step backwards, all of the hubris that we've had for the last 2 years, we look like jackasses.
Andrew, are you implying that the source of pride and drive and motivation behind fandom is demagoguery? Are you implying that?
I'm implying that our moral superiority and the fact that we have succeeded where others have failed, and it's why we continue to use the phrase massive. We kind of hold up these things that have happened to us 10, 15 years ago and go, look how awesome we are. Okay, yeah, we're awesome. We've done these great things. We had this incredible season with Siggy. We had, the 08 season was amazing. Then the 09 season was great. But every once in a while, we like to pretend like, oh yeah, the 2012 season didn't happen.
Then there were the dark times.
Yeah, the 2011 didn't happen. But then you hear weird stories like Matt Lamson told a story to Steve Sirk about going to medieval times with Josh Williams and some other players on the team, and they had the Black Knight or the Yellow Knight, I don't remember which one it was, but they had crowns on and they were like got knighted by this king, and they were jackasses, and like that season they were terrible, but they had a good time. So that's what we tend to cling to, is we cling to the Saprissa game is the greatest example. It was an international friendly. It rained. We had a 2-hour rain delay. There was a bunch of us standing out in Mega Tailgate kicking around a ball while a tornado whipped around, and there were like 8, 9 soccer balls flipping around. And we got drunk and flipped off the front office, and a bunch of us almost got banned.
This was on Red, White, and Boom Day, too. That was the best part of it all. This was Red, White. This is July 3rd during the Save the Crew year.
2018.
On a Red, White. That is how bad the front office wanted to torpedo this season.
And we played Saprissa, who is one of the best Costa Rican teams ever. And the Crew beat them, I think it was 3-1, and we didn't give a damn. There were like maybe 1,000 of us in that stadium, and we were drunk, and we were mean, and we had a hell of a time. And I couldn't tell you who scored any of those goals, because we had a great time while acting like jackasses. That is Crew fandom. We can act like jackasses if we're having a good time. If, Cincinnati, we got accused of being that we were mean, that we were chanting, "Is there a fire drill? You should have stayed in USL. You should have, all of these really mean chants." But we had a hell of a time doing.
Clutch my pearls, Chile. Oh my God, the Crew fans were mean to us.
Well, and it's one of the things, like during 2018, a bunch of us got a letter from the front office saying that we cursed on average 7 times per game in chants. And it led to, around that time, Dom Taberry from Channel 10 was accusing the Nordecke of not being family friendly. And that led to...
Oh, really? Really? The Nordecke is not necessarily safe for children.
There's children in the stands. But every time for the rest of that season, and it still happens every once in a while, every time we curse after that chant, we'll all start chanting family friendly. Because this is how we act. We will continue to be proud of being the biggest and brightest jackasses in the world.
We should.
We, to the outside world, we may be a cow town, but guess what? We're a cow town that shines. We are shiny. What's the thing from Fury Road, Witness Me or whatever, when he spray paints the soap? We're spray painting gold spray paint in our mouth. Witness us.
And it really is and I actually mean this as a compliment. It is a superiority complex.
Yeah.
And it is entirely based around Save the Crew. If Save the Crew doesn't happen, the Crew fans do not have this superiority complex. But they literally took on the league and won. And won with the help of the state of Ohio, but they won.
But what I'm saying is to the rest of MLS, don't let us win a cup this year. Don't let us win a cup this year. If we put a star on if we win, it's very simple. When we win certain things, the Trillium Cup, the Toronto thing, Pipa brought the cup out over to us. And that same game, Toronto fans tried to light some of us on fire. There was fist fights. We will celebrate the dumbest things, but you know what? We did these things. We won. We beat Cincinnati. We will crow and walk with with every little bit of confidence we can muster. Do not let us win the U.S. Open Cup because we will mock people. Don't let us win MLS Cup because we will. If we beat a team, here's the worst nightmare that could have ever happened. If the only nationally televised game that the Crew play this year is MLS Cup versus the LA Galaxy, don't let us beat Chicharito. Don't let us have a better record than whoever we go against in the MLS Cup if we get there. Don't let it be the Galaxy or the LAFC. Don't let it be one of the shiny stars that, is in...
that the league is trying to market.
Don't bring in a $14 million a year player and let the Cowtown beat him up because we will torture that fandom and we will torture that team for the entirety of that game. Could you imagine what having Chicharito have to come back to Mopfre Stadium where we've already Dos Acero'd him? Don't let us have him line up. Don't let us have him standing there waiting to receive a corner kick from Dos Santos. Because Dos Santos we will hundreds and hundreds of pale, pasty Midwesterners will learn Spanish insults. We will insult Argentinians, and then we will apologize to Guillermo with banners. Just, sorry Guillermo or Guille for what we're going to do, but, your mother makes bad mate. Like, we will insult the hell out of and because it's the Galaxy, it'll be Spanish things, like your mother burns, your abuela burns the tortillas. Like, simple insults that are just so mean and hard-hitting.
But make no sense whatsoever.
No, they make sense to a Mexican. If you tell a real Mexican that their abuela burns the tortillas, they'll pull a knife. You better expect to fight for your life if you insult somebody's abuela's tortillas. Like, it is bad. Do not let us have something to crow about. And right now we are crowing over our new players. We have Lucas Zelarayan, who should not be playing in MLS. Like, the Total Soccer Show on the Athletics podcast network did a 10 MLS players to look out for this season, and they were like, the host said that he'd never seen Lucas Zelarayan play before, and then he watched highlights and he was confused. Like, how the hell is this guy coming to MLS? Like, this, he referred to him as the David Blaine, like he does magic tricks. Don't let Lucas be that. And then you watch the Vitor Wormhor videos. Don't let him break some little dude's knees. If he breaks Joseph Martinez's knees, I will laugh my ass off. You will oh my God, we will, the next time we go to Atlanta, if Vito destroys somebody and we go to Atlanta, we will take a banner of Vito as Sherman saying we've burned Atlanta, an Ohioan burned Atlanta once, we'll do it again.
So, thank you for listening to High Street Hooligans. It's fun. The best part about being a Crew fan actually has very little to do with
Being a Crew fan.
with the on-field performance.
Right.
It really does. But that's the best part. And if there's any, because I still kind of consider myself an outsider to a certain extent. If there's any advice I could really give to Crew SC Fanland this year, it is walk tall. Walk tall.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere you go, because we're super active on Twitter and social media, but always the biggest counter argument is, hey, Twitter's not real life. Twitter's not real life. Your support isn't real. You're like 3,000 people. It was just 3,000 really annoying people who were able to stop him, and you're like, you're damn right it was. You're damn right it was. And if there is anything we can do this year, because we don't have that jersey sponsor, because for whatever reason we don't have all the corporate sponsorships, and all that stuff lined up, it is up to us. It is up to us to publicize this team and showcase this club and make it something that we're proud of. And yeah, a lot of times the best way to do that is to just
Win.
win, and two, be obnoxious. Like, let's face the facts, people. Squeaky wheels get grease. They do. They
most
really do.
successful meme during the Save the Crew one is one that I know there are members of MLS, the MLS leadership that hate the hell out of seeing, and it's the shark meme, the "Are you okay?" shark. There are 2 sticks of it, like the simplicity of "Are you okay?" Anytime something goes wrong for other people, we can be really squeaky and we can be really destructive. I would love for us to have a TIFO the first game on March 1st, because on February 28th, NYCFC is playing at Red Bull Arena. I would love for somebody to have a 2-stick that has the NYCFC logo and it says New Jersey Football Club instead of New York Football Club. I would love to see that. But you know what? I don't think that would be allowed in, because we can't be that squeaky. We can't have, a TIFO that has the dimensions of Mopfre Stadium field versus the Yankee Stadium field and, saying that Mopfre is better than Yankee Stadium, because we've seen the league not allow that. The NYCFC away fans said had a banner the first game that Minnesota opened their stadium with NYCFC, and the away New York fans had a banner that said "A new stadium ... must be nice," and the league took it away from them. We can't be that squeaky, but you know what? We can do that with our own personal stuff.
Walk tall, Crew fans. Our job this year as fans is to be the PR mouthpiece of this club, and that's part of the reason that we're doing the show, is to really bring it out and be a little more unfiltered.
Listener discretion is advised. However, this is our opinion.
But it'll be fun.
This is our opinion. My opinion is we could shine. We could, I've wanted for years to say things like, we could really, as a city and with this fresh ownership group, and I think Bez and D. Haslam and Pete Edwards kind of agree that the Crew for years has kind of languished as the naughty child, that like we're the forgotten toy, left by the child who's grown out of it. The league grew out of Columbus. Quite literally, we were the original seed that led the team, the league. We could lead the league into other things. We could, and I don't know how this would work in the front office thing. They were looking for a goalkeeper coach. We could hire a female goalkeeper coach. We could hire a female assistant coach. We could hire, all sorts of positions and just make real movements. Having Dante Washington be a business contact, whatever, vice president of. We are quite literally bringing in former players to help, bridge the gap between business and the team. Okay, that's an amazing thing to do. Let's really make a change. So, that, like I was saying, let's do charity on the jersey. Let's make a women's wear deal. Hey, guess what company is headquartered in Columbus? Victoria's Secret. Guess what a bunch of people who are Crew fans do? They work for Victoria's Secret or L Brands or whatever. How big of a statement could you make by going, hey, guess what? The official bra sponsor of the Columbus Crew is Victoria's Secret.
We could do it. We could do it. It is on the. Could you imagine?
Or the pink logo on our jersey? Oh my God.
Could you imagine having for anyone listening, if you've done any of the jersey memes so far, whether it's the Larry King CNN look or
By the way, that's still awesome.
Or the Pornhub logo across the front jersey. Could you imagine legitimately having Victoria's Secret across with little angel wings or something?
Dude,
on the
angel
jersey
logo? First off, they're moving away from the angel logo. They're moving away from their angel line. They're being much more progressive. But it's one of those things. How do you get a large female population? There's a lot of women that love soccer. Now, I used to say it was because there's some good-looking soccer players. We have some good-looking ones, and then we have some ugly dudes playing now for the Crew. But
we're not hiring them there for their looks. But let's be real. Every single soccer fan,
every Crew fan has a woman in their life that they could connect to that they could really do. And so there are female fans that could really be really connected with it and really have a new way of getting fans into this team. And I know it's not just, me saying, oh, having a lingerie sponsor is going to bring so many fans. Having a lingerie sponsor doesn't necessarily have to get new fans. It has a possibility of getting new venues of income, though, because could you imagine just the marketing available to go, hey, guess what? We don't care. We could open new avenues of fandom. We could, we have Derek Etienne playing for us, and we haven't talked about that really. I've been, crowing about the fact I was right on that.
Yeah,
for 6 months.
Yeah, I tweeted when that happened. I'm like, someone give Andrew a hammer because he just nailed this one. Just absolutely nailed it.
And people, if you want to know the secret to that of how you can predict and pick players that would be great for the Crew, here's how you do it. Is that player inexpensive? Yes. Does that player speak English? Yes. Does that player produce...
Did he play for Akron or Portland Timbers at any given moment?
Yes. And then go look at whatever method you want to. I tend to use the FIFA foot cards to decide how good a player is, which is not a scientific
method I do find it ironic how so many of us, we trust EA to evaluate players more than the actual scouts who work for the league and the team. We trust the nerds at EA.
Yeah, except for EA, for some reason, I think if you look at Eloy Room's card, I think Eloy's like a 61. Because prior to coming to the Crew, I don't think he had a team. I think he was actually cut prior to the Gold Cup. And so he came to us for cheap.
Yeah, he can. I think PSV Eindhoven had already let him go by then.
We have, I think, 3 previous PSV players.
Yeah, real talk, realistically speaking here, how far can this team actually go this year? With all the turnover, and yeah, they're good players, but they have been playing together for We're still counting the time in days. We're not even into. We're barely in being able to measure it in weeks now. Like, realistically speaking, how far can this team go?
The thing is, the players that are being forced, that have been brought into this team, kind of bright and shiny new, sort of already have connections with, like, Vitor already has a connection with Eloy and with Giannis. Or, sorry, not Giannis. Eunice, sorry. Because they all played at PSV or in Sweden with or against each other. And, it's interesting that Cincinnati brought in a PSV striker for a crazy pile of money. Because quite literally, Eloy Room has trained against this guy. They've trained together. They know each other's tendencies. So I think defensively, and we've seen the videos that have come out of training, it looks like cliques have developed in a way where they're kind of trying to help each other, where you hear it's English, but it's Ghanaian, it's like kind of Ghanaian slang. If you ever try to read two Ghanaian players tweeting at each other, don't do it, it'll confuse you. I'm not quite sure what it completely is. There's dropped words and dropped letters and stuff. But you could hear that on the sidelines. You could hear a little bit of French being muttered. You could hear Spanish being, players talking smack with each other. There seems to be a good connection, which is really cool. Jossie obviously was at US camp that whole time, so I don't know how well he's fit in with all of that, but there's not really that many players. The turnover is players that have sort of played with each other in the past. Bringing in Sebastian, bringing in Aiden those are youth players who trained with the team during the summer. So Sebastian has been, for the 5 players that were with Greg, Sebastian was there because he was Greg's son. Aiden and Sebastian and Eli, shout out to Eli, who I have no idea where you are, but that's okay. They were summer players for them. So they came in and they trained with them, to get bodies on the field. So these players know each other. The only player that's kind of truly new to everybody is Lucas. And he is going to be the pivot.
Uh-huh. So, how far do you think this team can go this year?
Playoffs, at the very least.
Is that the bare minimum expectations that this team has to make the playoffs in order for this?
Yes. This is an experiment. This is an experiment. I think it's a good experiment, but it's we are going to really the fandom is going to be tested. That it was shocking that they survived so long during that 13-game drop last year.
Yeah, and circling back to that 13-game drop, like looking back at it, and I'm gonna kick this dead horse a little bit more. I think if the team was doing better last year, there was a great. Will Trapp probably would have been traded or sold last season.
Yeah,
if the team he would have left. If the team was doing better, or even in the summer, just because his value, that's when his value was at its highest.
Yeah. I think he would have gone. I think the fans would have.
I think the fans, if they'd have moved him last year during the summer transfer window, which is probably when his value was at its highest, considering all the issues that the team was going through, the fans would have absolutely lost their mind. Like if the team is terrible, if the team
is terrible and we lost Will in July, yeah, they would have
lost their mind. But that's when they would have gotten the most for him.
Right,
would have been then. But
they would have gotten the most for him when the same time they sold Zach.
Yeah,
but that's a whole kettle of fish.
I think the consensus is this team has to make the playoffs.
And
for this season to not
make it.
This team to not be considered a failure.
Yeah,
you gotta make the playoffs. In the East,
Some of the East
is
teams
not
are
that
getting
great. It really isn't that great. Like this,
a couple of teams are great. Like DC looks good on paper. I don't know how they're going to do. And Cincinnati seems like they're trying, which is
which is
different.
good too. You want to have your local rivalry. Like
I'm confused by Atlanta,
yeah.
but
rivalries are only good, and this is actually the argument I have with the Ohio State Michigan rivalry, and I'm saying that with quotes right now because I don't think it's a rivalry.
I think the rivalry's Clemson now.
Yeah, in order for it to be a rivalry, like both teams have to win every now and then.
Yeah,
like the rivalries are best when both teams are good.
I think Iowa is actually a better rivalry for Ohio State now.
Yeah.
I don't just say that because my in-laws both went to Iowa, but
well, Iowa has been the source of a lot of ire for Ohio State football fans in recent years, much more than Michigan has.
Right.
Much more than Michigan.
So I think a playoff team is the least we can hope for. That is the least expectation. And I think if we aren't playoff bound, then that is a turkey shoot, which is why I'm kind of okay with the fact that we have 2 open roster slots, because that gives us flexibility to say, like, hey, some of these teams don't, some of these windows don't really close. Like the Spanish window, I think, stays open almost until April. So if at the beginning of the season somebody is absolute garbage, we can get rid of them.
We are headed into year 25. Can you believe it has been 25?
Yep.
So there are some people who have been following this team since its inception.
In 1994.
And, yeah, and then since 96 when the game started.
Yes.
And it is, like, I think that's the best part of, like, if for the people who have been there the whole time, like, that was in all of our lifetimes. All of our lifetimes, we have grown with this club from day one, and that is something that you can still look at and really be proud of. And man, have we had some great players come through.
My all-time 11
great players come through. I mean, we're going to get into. I mean, there is 3 great goalkeepers we have to choose from. There's going to be some very unhappy center mid fans.
Yeah.
That are going to be disappointed by this because so many midfielders have come through this team that have really made a difference. And forwards, like some of the best forwards in the history of the league have played for this team, and this team has really done I want to say good job. It's kind of an oxymoron on this sense of a good job of flying under the radar with the level of talent that has come through this city. I mean, you're looking at goalkeeper. I mean, if you're putting an all-time 11 together on goalkeeper for the Crew, I mean, what do you go with? I mean, are you going with Hesmer? Are we going with Steffen? Are we going with Brad Friedel?
I have recency bias on this one. I think it's Zach Steffen.
You think it's Steph Daddy?
Yeah, I think it's Zach Steffen.
Is this based off of, and I'm gonna go ahead and write.
It's based off that Atlanta game. That is by far the best step up I've ever seen, where it went to PKs and he was facing some of the best goal scorers in the league, and he destroyed them. He stood there. He was like a monster in that net. And then blocking Rooney shots, and there's an amazing picture of him with Zlatan on the ground after he's, deflected some crazy kick from Zlatan. And Zlatan's got this look of like, what the hell just happened? And Zach's got this look on his face that says like, I am in control of this game. He blanked incredible players. He blocked Wayne Rooney in a shootout for that playoff game in 2018 that, anybody should have been, any goalkeeper would be proud to do. That was a great game. He is so good at PKs. And that's a skill that not every goalie has, though they should.
You would think shot stopping is like would be the number one look and expectation. And
He also does the German sweeper keeper thing, which not a lot of U.S. keepers do.
Yeah, which that has always been. I think if anything, that's been his biggest improvement going over to Germany. Is he was not that with us. Him with the ball at his feet for us was it was okay. It was all right. My all-time 11 keeper. I understand, Stefan. I mean, in all reality, of the big three, I mean, which one was the greatest? In all reality, it was probably Brad Friedel, but it just none of his greatness was for us.
Right.
We didn't get peak. Brad
and
the
same could be said for Steve Clark. His best time was not for us.
No, but I mean, my all-time 11 keeper it's Will Hesmer.
Yeah,
it's Will Hesmer.
I can understand that.
What he did and what he brought to the table in that championship year was nothing short of spectacular. So looking at an all-time 11, we go deep. I mean, are you looking at a back three or a back four?
I'm looking at a back four.
I think we got to look at a 4-2. Center back is probably, looking at it, our overall weakest position of all time.
Historically?
Historically.
But we've had some great ones. I mean,
actually, the obvious one's Chad. I think we're both in agreement that Chad is number one, but that number two spot, Danny,
it's for me. It's kind of a hold up between three people, and one of them is going to be really, really, really confusing to some people. I think it might be like Michael Parkhurst, Danny O'Rourke, and this is going to sound weird to some people, but Jonathan Mensah. Jonathan Mensah is really solid, and he's willing to take physical, the physical nature of being a center back, and not every center back can do that. He doesn't win every header. He had an own goal a couple of years ago, but he has a position. Yeah, he understands what it means to be a center back. The same thing can be said about Michael Parkhurst, and he has like a captain's grace to him. Like he has there's a real personality to him. And then Danny's, obviously won a cup. So
yeah. So I think at the center back position, I think we're both in agreement that Chad.
Yeah.
I think Chad is easily the best center back.
Yeah.
To have put the banana yellow on. But that second spot. So are you going with Parkhurst or are you going with Danny?
Danny.
Danny. Chad Marshall. So that's the 08.
Yeah.
The 08 duo.
But I only want him 08 because 09 not so much.
That's true too.
Yeah, he was good, but it wasn't.
You gotta look at. I am looking at the overall careers with the team. So
and which is why I have to go with a back four, because then immediately I go with these. We've had some incredible wingers.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna, for center back for the other one. I think I'm gonna go with Parkhurst. I think after that, with him as the leadership, and you can make a case for Mensah on that too, just for longevity. But I think it's hard for me to get away from Michael Parkhurst on that.
The other thing that helps with Jonathan Mensah is he seems like such a nice guy. Like he's doing so much, and he embodies this something beyond the field, which kind of is a nice thing, and I would like to see that more in some players.
How about left back?
Left back is actually because we let Bobby Varzijas and Siggy just kind of play with formations in a way. We had a lot of different people playing left and right back. And that's where I would put, and it seems weird, but I would put Frankie on the left side.
You put Frankie on the left side, not the right.
Yeah.
Pretty much everywhere Frankie has played that hasn't been us, he's been on the right.
Right. But Frankie played left back, right mid. He played sort of in the center defensive. I think he played on the national team as like a forward too, a little bit, because there was that weird like 271 or so, or 281?
What about Waylon? Waylon, who just hurt himself today, so he is mildly ouchy. Not terribly ouchy, but he's mildly ouchy right now.
The only thing with having, and it's kind of, goes back to how we've got amazing depth now. Waylon Francis has so many health things at various points in his career that I stopped relying on him, and therefore a lot of times I stopped thinking of him for the greatness he had at moments.
So, I mean, and I think you could make a really good case for Frankie. I think I'm going to go with Frankie on the left as well. But then that does beg the question, then, who do you put on the right?
I love Awful. And I know there's no good reason for that. That is a recency bias. He is so quick. And that is what I want out of a right back. I know it's not what I should. I know I should want actual, like, defensive ability out of a right back. But damn, can Awful play.
I think there is a... The position of fullback has changed so much in the last 10 years, really. The fullback it's becoming more, even in a back four, it's becoming more of a wingback position than like a defensive. The emphasis on their forward play has become much more of a factor in whether or not you bring a player like that. And the same thing, I mean, last season was a bad example because of all the injuries, including to Harrison Awful.
Yeah. But that 2017 season was so good. Yeah, he is the reason we damn near won the cup.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Awful on that as well, seeing as we have... Ordinarily, I would go with Frankie there, but if we've already got him on...
Who would you have gone for left back if not for Frankie?
Probably Finley, honestly. Probably Finley.
Yeah.
Probably Ethan Finley on that.
But then again, I stick Ethan. Ethan's another one. This is another one of those problems of, like, Greg kind of played with positioning. And so Ethan, he floated around. He played a little bit in the center, a little bit in the back. So formation is a fluid concept to Greg Berhalter.
So what are you looking at in mids? I mean, are you thinking 5 midfielders or 4?
There's defensive mid, a center mid, and a right and a left mid.
So two defensive mids, a
2-3, yeah.
Okay.
So, like, the formation for me on any best 11 is a 4-2-3-1. It's the standard Greg Berhalter Columbus Crew formation. Some people go like, "Oh, double striker." Yeah, but who are you going to take out of it?
I mean, you're going to run into this exact same problem here in a minute if you're going with the 5 midfielders. I mean, who do you put in front of the back 4? You got to put Gavin. You got to put Steady Eddie in there, man.
I would go Eddie, Gavin, and the second defensive mid is
midfield gets hard, man.
Yeah, and it also kind of depends on the game. Like, there were so many great Ethan Finley moments where he was, like, sort of a wing back, but also sort of a defensive mid. And then you get into these moments where, like, I'm not quite sure, like, who was actually filling what role during certain games. Like, in the 2008 season, I would love to have actually seen some of those where the positioning that the team actually thought they were playing in, because they sort of just played like, oh, we're all on the field, and I guess we're going forward now. Oh, now we're defending, and now we have the ball, and now we score.
So Eddie Gavin for sure.
Yeah.
See, you're going with 5 mids. I'm going with 4 in
Okay.
mine. I feel like we've got too many strikers to just leave out. Versus, like, we're gonna have upset midfield.
So you wanna play like the diamond?
Yeah, like we're gonna have upset midfield fans no matter what we do here.
Okay, so Eddie Gavin as the only defensive midfielder.
So I mean, who else do you put in that 6 or in that 8 spot though? Because Gavin would probably be your 6.
Yeah. You know what? You're right. Let's do two. Let's do two strikers.
You want to say it's kind of one of those like
Yeah.
All right, so you got Eddie as your first center mid, and then you got a left mid,
and then center attacking mid. The least problematic thing I'm going to say, it's Pipa. Like anybody that says otherwise, the only reason that Robert Varzijas has more assists than Federico Higuain is he played in CONCACAF Nations League. If it wasn't for CONCACAF Nations League games, and then Robert Varzijas, and also playing, I think more games than Pipa by a couple, he would have. Pipa is only trailing Robert Varzijas for most assists by 2. He has the most regular season assists. Anybody that says other than that, other than the fact he didn't put a star on the shirt, Pipa is the best player who ever played for the Columbus Crew. To not have him in the best 11 is just sad.
Yeah, but then you're leaving Guillermo off.
This is again recency bias.
Again, like, are you really gonna leave? You can't even say his name without like smiling when you say Guillermo.
Yeah, I like Pipa.
You can't even.
I prefer Pipa. I know that's
I'm going with Guillermo, people. All right, because one of us here has to value some hardware. And it comes on this.
I would like to point out that Guillermo did not win us the Trillium Cup because it didn't exist.
Mainly because of that.
Mainly because it didn't exist. But Pipa brought that trophy over to the Nordecke, and it looked like somebody had run it over with a car. Can we replace that, people? I think fans actually bought that trophy. I'd love to know the history of that trophy, because that looks like it was bought at like a cheap 5 and dime. Right. It is so garbage looking.
So you're going with Eddie. So center mids, you're going with Eddie Gavin and Feder and Pipa and Higuain.
And El Maestro. Pipacito.
I am also going to go with Eddie Gavin, but I am going with Guillermo. I can't not have Guillermo.
Can we have just the best 11 is 5?
It's just be all midfielders and forwards.
Yeah. I would like 5 Pipas and 5 Frankie Hayduks, and then Zach Steffen in goal.
Oh, you're looking at it way different. I'm looking at so our 11, yeah, we'll just go with
You're
Eddie
looking
Gavin.
For like actual people. I'm hoping that medical science can clone 2013 Federico Higuain. And
I'm just saying my 11's like, I guess that Brian McBride's gonna have to play left mid now because that's where we need, because he's got to be on the team. We're not going to do that because that's not correct. But that is certainly another way to do it. I would
like to know if McBride ever played on the left or right, because that's, he played all over the place.
He probably did when he was playing for Everton and Fulham.
I think when he played for Fulham, he quite literally just stood in the box. I don't think he ran.
That might
people
be,
love him.
That might have been true at this point, and now he's the GM of U.S. Soccer. So you got Gavin and Pipa. I went with Gavin and Guillermo. What are we doing on the wings? Wings is one is like, it's a little bit more difficult, not because, for the opposite reason, basically. There's not, we don't really have any standout wingers for the most part. Like Varzija, I remember Varzija more as a coach and manager than I do as a player. And he was a great player for us. He was an absolutely great player for us. But I remember him as a coach, not as a player.
And that's the thing, is I would actually put Robert Varzijas as... I can't remember which, if he's left or right-footed, because I think I've seen him pass with both. I'm just going to make him the right midfielder.
Right midfielder.
And then for left midfield, Kyle Martino. No.
Manis, I can't even pronounce his name. Tony, how the heck do you put Manis Sueves?
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez, yeah. Yeah, I think it's Manischewitz or something.
Yeah, I am probably saying it wrong, so someone listening is like, no, it's meatball sandwich. I don't know what the actual that guy. I mean that would be he would be a good one. So you're gonna Varziha on the right,
and somebody is listening to this and screaming that why are we disrespecting Justin Meram? Justin Meram, if we could have just 2015 Justin Meram, I would like to take everything else out. Justin
Meram does not have the longevity with the city.
Yeah,
that some of these other guys
do. It's the same reason.
Longevity is important. Like it really is. If you get the sustained success,
if you could take 13 seconds out of a career, then Tony Tchani is in the best 11 as a defensive midfielder. And somebody's going to listen to this that loves Tony Tchani and personally knows him. And there are people that I know that personally know Tony. And they are going to be very mad at me. But I liked Tony Tchani when he wasn't letting balls go into the goal.
I feel like that's not an inappropriate preference.
Let's go on to the double forward.
So who are you putting on the left then?
I'm going to put Justin Meram. Yeah. Because left wing is actually really hard. And that is actually going to be one of the interesting things in the new team to see what happens. Are we going to have Diaz or Pedro or Yunus Mokhtar? Are they going to step up and play that left wing every once in a while? Because if we could shift Luis over to the left and bring like Derek Etienne on at the ends of games, that would be great, and have two players that can run their asses off. That would be amazing. But, that is an amazing ability, though that will also, unfortunately, giving Justin Meram that has eliminated somebody that I would love to put into that position. And it's really unfortunate because I do not have Alejandro Moreno anywhere. And I personally love Al. Al is awesome.
Where would you put him?
In a perfect world, I'd put him as a striker or a left forward or right forward or just somewhere where he can score and pass and be awesome. But there's just not enough spots.
I mean, that's the issue that we're going to run into now. I think I'm going to go with Varziha on the left and then Tony on the right. But that brings us to strikers, and now
the greatest fight on earth.
Yeah, now
is Kai Kamara a good player? And I say no.
I think he's a good player, but I don't think that. I think that says a lot about the quality that we've had at this position. Where I think he's a good player, but I don't think he sniffs either of these spots. He doesn't get close.
And if Kai Kamara heard you say that, he would be mad and say something about it's because he's not an American striker. He actually said that last season, that he would have a long career with the team that brought him in, which he means Columbus, if he'd been born in the U.S. and it was, we are biased against foreign-born horseshit. Kai Kamara has played for every MLS team and a Premier League team and a Sierra Leone team because he might be a great player, but it's an unstable situation. You can always find a better striker than him. And that is very apparent when you look at what happened. When we traded him away in 2016, we were not going to make the playoffs. We almost made the playoffs in 2016. Somebody's going to correct me and say, oh, they were garbage at the end. Yeah, we almost made the playoffs. And then in 2017, you know what happened? Shockingly, that team didn't change at all from the 2015-2016 team, and somehow we almost made it to the cup. And it was all on the best striker, in my opinion. If you're going to have two strikers up front, I put Ola Kamara as one of our two best strikers because Ola fit his job. He did not argue. He played his position. And damn it, he almost was the crew leader for most goals in a single season. He almost won the Golden Boot that season, too.
And who would your other striker be then?
Brian McBride.
McBride?
Yeah.
Brian McBride was everybody's first.
He was everybody's
first favorite crew player. I mean, that dude was so cool. Like 12-year-old. How was I 12? No. Yeah. 10-year-old Matt just loved Brian McBride. The freaking bowl cut, the little headband that now only women wear, and he was just so cool. He was one of the first sports posters I had in my room was of Brian McBride.
Little piece of Brian McBride Columbus Crew history. Had the Guige trade not gone through, Columbus would have brought Brian McBride back in to Columbus so that he could have a last season in 2017 with the crew, or 2007 with the Crew, and which would have meant that had that happened, we would have had no Guige and no Alejandro Moreno, which means you would have had no.
See, if I
wouldn't have had the 08 Cup.
See, if I were you, like I would have put Moreno in like long before Kamara. Like, and I like Ola, but he wasn't here long enough. He wasn't here long enough to do anything else. I think we're in agreement on McBride, although, and I think most
I just like goals. I like players who score.
I think most of Crew fanland would
is
say,
probably mad at me for not saying Alejandro Moreno as striker.
I was going to say they're probably in agreement that Brian McBride probably should be one of the strikers.
Yeah.
But the other, I mean, you're looking at Jeff. I mean, when you put in, I feel like if you're putting in Ola Kamara, like you're disrespecting Jeff Cunningham. You're disrespecting Stern John. You're disrespecting.
I did not see Stern John enough. Like I fell off for a little while.
You're disrespecting Dante Washington. Dante Washington didn't even sniff these two spots in my book.
Here's the funny thing about Dante Washington, and Dante will agree with this because I've actually said this to his face. If MLS existed 5 years before it did, Dante Washington would have been the best and most important U.S. player to ever play. Dante Washington was playing like Dante Washington and like 2-3 dozen other players kept soccer alive in the U.S. in the late 80s, early 90s. Dante played on a team in, I think it was Alexandria, Virginia, an indoor soccer team that was one of the first professional teams to have a professional woman play soccer with them. And it was a integrated men's and women's indoor soccer team. Dante, if the league started in 1994 before the World Cup, Dante Washington would have been one of the stars. And Alexi Lawless never would have had the platform he currently has, which I'm betting that somebody is trying to build a time machine so that they could start
so that
MLS
we can have
4 years earlier.
So that we could have Dante Washington on ESPN FC and calling games instead of, or no, he's with Fox now.
Yeah.
Instead of Alexi Lawless. I mean, my second striker is Jeff Cunningham. I mean, I think.
Are you looking at his stats right now and going like, "Oh my god"?
Yeah, it's man, like you can't leave your all-time goal scorer out of your all-time 11. So, I think we have it. So, in keeper, AJ. So here's our Crew all-time 11. Let us know what you think in the comments. Tell AJ what an idiot he is for putting Ola Kamara down there for his 2 years with the team. So, but for AJ's 11, he's got goalkeeper Zach Steffen, left back Frankie Hayduke, center backs Chad Marshall and Danny O'Rourke, right back Harrison Offel, wing midfielders Justin Merrim and Robert Varzija, center mids Eddie Gavin and Federico Higuain. No sign of Guillermo anywhere in that list.
So sad.
And then strikers Ola Kamara and Brian McBride. And
I still contend I'm right.
And then my 11, goalkeeper Will Hesmer, Frankie Hayduke, Chad Marshall, Michael Parkhurst, and Harrison Offel across the back. We're in agreement on Offel.
Yeah.
And then left mid, Robert Varzija, center mids, Eddie Gavin, and Guillermo Barros-Schelotto. And then right mid, Tony Mann, whose name I still can't pronounce all that well. And then strikers Brian McBride and Jeff Cunningham, I think, are the top two all-time goal scorers for the club.
Somebody is probably going to put up that I cannot remember dominant foot for any of these players because I can't remember if Robert Varzijas was a left or right, and how in the heck could I have some of these players play in the positions they did, and why is Frankie playing on the left side? The reason Frankie's playing on the left side is, can you name a better left back? Like, really, or like wing backs, we are not deep on greatness. Like, give me 5 years, let's see if that changes. Maybe Chris Cadden is the best wing back to ever play in MLS. We don't know. He hasn't played yet.
That is also true, and I think we are very excited to see what Chris Cadden is going to bring to the table. So we're coming up on coming up close to the 90-minute mark. So that is just about all the time that we have for today. And in 2 weeks, we are going to be stepping things up. We will be moving to a weekly podcast because games will be starting. So the next time you're talking to us, we will be previewing the NYCFC match. And the season is finally coming up. We can finally
the gala at COSI for some of us.
Yeah, you'll be going to the STM gala. You'll be taking photos, hopefully getting some video, getting some notes from everyone. That's going to be.
I bought new pants.
Really, Andrew? You had to add that?
It is
nice.
It is important, all right. Some people wear suits. I got a pair of slacks, and I don't know where they are.
I have a suit, but COSI is a little warm, and so a nice button-up and a tie and maybe a sweater and a nice pair of slacks, very nice.
Just be sure you keep that pinky out. But it's going to be, it is good. It is going to be fun, and I know I sound like a broken record on this one, man, but this season, and we kind of went through this, you better hope this team is terrible, MLS and every other fan in the league, because if this team
we will not let anybody.
If this team gets any momentum going, you are going to see the loudest, boisterous, most enjoyable fans you have. And by enjoyable, I mean we're gonna enjoy it. We're gonna have a good time. This season is gonna be fun. If this team is anywhere close to what our expectations are. This team and this fans, we are about to walk tall this season and really show off what this club and what this fan base can do.
And speaking of showing off this fan base, I know it's a little early. It's about 3 weeks in advance, but start making plans because opening game, we're gonna have a DJ and there's gonna be breakfast at Tailgate. It is going to be a madhouse.
Yeah, it is keep in mind, it is a 12:30 kickoff, so
we'll be drinking since Tuesday.
This is gonna be brunch Tailgate. That's what this is going to be.
Maybe a champagne toast at 6 a.m., perhaps with VIPs. We don't know. Some people don't answer their phones all that well.
And that's pretty much where we are now. So next time you hear us talking together, we will be previewing the NYCFC match and really getting into the predictions and everything in the preview for the 2020 MLS season across the board. So for Crew Corner, my name is Matt.
And I'm AJ.
We had a blast with you guys today. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Comment. Let us know who's in your Crew All-Time 11. Tell us where we were right. Tell us where we were wrong. We love talking Crew with anybody. But once again, my name is Matt.
And I'm AJ.
We will see you in the next video.